So Magic the Gathering has undoubtedly gone through quite a few design changes throughout the years, and I couldn't help but notice a trend with its creatures. So let's talk about it. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for dropping by and your ongoing support. My name is Patrick, host of the EDH Brutality YouTube page, in which we upload Magic the Gathering content and analysis on Wednesdays and Sundays. You're watching another game discussion video in which we discuss the latest updates or just my observations with the current state of Magic the Gathering. Before we jump right into today's video, a quick and special thanks to patrons like you for making videos like this possible. And if you would like to see any gameplay series or perhaps even my typical content early, feel free to take a look at my page linked down in the description below. So that out of the way, we can finally get right into today's video, which happens to do with the design language in regards to creatures within the game of Magic the Gathering, in which I couldn't help but notice. But power creep has really changed the game to a far less strategic one. In fact, lately, it seems as most Magic the Gathering pods simply try to always one-up one another in playing the biggest and best thing until they are the last ones left alive. Let me explain. Value in the game comes from pieces known as engines. You can think of these as individual cards that have a payoff when paired with a proper synergy within your deck and just elevate the lines of play, causing you to win more. In the past, said engines typically were accompanied by a downside, such as Slate of Ancestry here, which leads to an overabundance of cards, once meeting two conditions, the first of which is having a large board state of creatures, and the second being to discard your current hand. Now, by today's standards, this is still quite the strong effect. However, with a 4 mana activation cost, it is quickly becoming irrelevant. Because today you have cards such as Kindred Discovery, which lets you draw whenever a creature comes into play, sharing whichever named type you decided, not only getting rid of the downside of an activation cost, but discarding your hand, as well as having a board presence in state already. And unfortunately, this has splashed over onto the creature base itself, as we have cards such as Korvold Faker's King, not only becoming a sacrifice outlet, but a large body with evasion as well as card draw. Or how about other cards such as Icy Tyrant of Gyre Straits, which not only serves as additional ramp each turn, but consistently refills players' hands at just the cost of 6 mana, both of which are engines in themselves and can create a highly functioning deck without the need of other additions for them to essentially do the thing, which unfortunately creates a state of Magic where players are rewarded for playing the biggest spells without much thought to it, meaning the game is now an arms race and who can cast the largest thing first. If we go back several decades, however, this is no longer the case. Because in the past, if you would like to play with any piece of power, then it came at a price. For example, if you wanted a shot at taking out your opponent in just 2 swings, then you could do so with a Leviathan, which for 9 mana got you a 10/10 with Trample that came into play tapped, and stayed tapped unless you sacrificed 2 islands, and couldn't even attack once again unless you sacrificed another 2 islands. Or how about pieces like Ebon Praetor, which is a 4 generic and 2 black mana summon avatar reading, trample and first strike. During your upkeep, put a -2/-2 counter on Ebon Praetor. You may sacrifice a creature during your upkeep to remove a -2/-2 counter from Ebon Praetor. If the sacrificed creature was a thrall, also put a +1/+0 counter on Ebon Praetor. Only 1 creature may be sacrificed this manner each turn, which was a pretty unique spell that got larger on the condition that your board got smaller. And if this wasn't the case, then your large creature would get smaller himself, forcing players to weigh the odds both within deck building as well on the battlefield. Nowadays, however, once again, that is different, because we can have our cake and eat it too when there's spells such as Shabraz the Sky Shark, which still has a keyword and gets larger with every card drawn, as well as gaining you that much life in the process. Yeah, we're talking card draw here, a basic fundamental of every game in which no hoops must be met to fulfill this condition. And ultimately, this really just comes down to, in my opinion, what feels like lazy game design. Because 20 years ago, if you wanted to have a massive advantage over your opponent, you had to get greedy. And of course, in some cases, that greed would backfire. But today, not so much. Just ramp out in the arms race known as Magic the Gathering, play what you have on curve, and let your deck synergize with itself 10 times over, with the only real downside being a playmat that looks like a 60-year-old's collage board. How do you even go about looking at those things? My goodness. And although I understand this, I feel that the whole strategy aspect of Magic the Gathering suffers because of it. Maybe not in the competitive scenes, but for those kitchen table settings, 20 years ago, cards such as Lord of the Pits could be seen as a finisher, in which if you didn't have a creature to sacrifice, it could finish you. But today, this card would be seen as useless. A 7/7 with the downside, not worth the risk. Because why would I play such a card if for the same mana, I can play something along the lines of Kirk, Son of Yawgmoth, allowing me to spend life instead of mana, makes himself bigger, as well as the ability to gain more life. I mean, make this make sense, people. The game no longer has downsides. Once again, as stated previously, taking out the element of greed and the potential for it to backfire. Must be said, there are times I do enjoy this, but more often than not, I can't help but think what could have been if power creep didn't exist, and the design choices within creatures of Magic the Gathering continue to have high power with a cost. So what are your thoughts with the contents of this video? Do you also agree that Magic is now more simply play on curve, cast your spells, and see who can outbig one another? Do you in fact like this design change throughout the years? Or do you prefer a grindier game in which overextending can lead to problems? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below. But until then, if you want to stay tuned for future videos, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. So with that said, my name is Patrick, host of EDH Brutality. I thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys. You know, I hate to say it, but I think the only solution to solve this, if I want to play jank, slow, grindy cards such as Rust of Knowledge, just simply play pre-modern. Pre-modern EDH. I think that's the play. I won't win any games. Power creep is too strong, but damn, will I look stylish. Yeah. That's it. I'm out. Peace.